Welcome back to the Becoming Conscious podcast. I'm your host, Ethan, and this is going to be an interesting episode. Today, I want to talk about how lack of introspection relates to an increased feeling of loneliness. This is something that I've been getting curious about in my life as I've been flexing this introspection muscle. I've been noticing how it relates to how I'm showing up with other people in a way that I find very fascinating that I want to explore in this episode. And so the insight that I had was that when I'm going through life with this assumption that I'm not enough, that I'm odd, that I'm weird, that I'm different than other people, etc. This is this assumption that I'm going through life. It's this unconscious assumption. It's just happening automatically. And if I'm not making an attempt to become conscious of it, my relationships suffer. And so as I am becoming more and more conscious of these core stories that I have, it's changing how I relate with people such that I'm feeling less disconnected from other people. I'm feeling when I'm meeting new people, I'm not feeling like an odd one out anymore. I'm just feeling like a feeling of possibility or a feeling of, I'm not sure how to explain it, but relating on a level that feels much better, more spacious, more free, more fulfilling. Whereas when I have these assumptions, it increases my loneliness because many of you may be familiar with the feeling of being in a crowd of people and being lonely. It's this feeling of being surrounded by people, but not being able to fully connect with people. I think this can come from many different things, but most of all, I think it comes from lack of integrity and lack of authenticity, which come from fears and insecurities about who we are, these assumptions that we have about who we are, and overcompensating for them in various ways. And so, what I want to explore here is that we have the main problem that we have is that as a society, there's an epidemic of loneliness and depression. And as a result, we seek to overcompensate for this loneliness in a multitude of different ways. Whether it means we show up a little bit more narcissistically, we talk about ourselves a little bit more, um, or we talk about ourselves a little less, we retreat. All of these different things are side effects of lack of introspection. And so, what I want to explore here is that when we increase our consciousness level, when we sit with our internal experience for long enough, and get curious enough about it, about what are the motives driving my emotions, what is underneath this loneliness, what is the fear I have, what is the insecurity I have, sitting with ourselves in silence and asking ourselves these questions, in my eyes, is the antidote to loneliness. Because if I'm showing up with these deep insecurities, it's hard to not feel lonely because I'm always interacting from a place that is not fully real. And so, therefore, I'm not giving people my real self, and therefore, there's a lack of connection. Whereas, as I introspect more, I'm hiding less parts of myself from myself, and I'm noticing the ways in which, if I sit with the insecurities and the fears enough, I realize the ways in which I am generating those assumptions that I have about myself, and I can actually stop generating them. And when I stop generating them, this is when the feeling of loneliness decreases, the feeling of connection to others increases, and our relationships improve, our life improves, we feel less lonely, we feel more meaning inherently. And so, yeah, that's the essence of the insight that I wanted to get across.